Okay, so we are going to go ahead and get started making this granny square stocking right here. Okay, so I'm using the Red Heart Super Saver yarn in red, and I find that this yarn is really good for making Christmas ornaments. Some of the other yarn is a little bit soft, but you can absolutely use whatever yarn you want. And I also have I have white. You can choose whatever colors you want, and you can use whatever you want to make this. Okay, this is your artwork, right? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So we're making our granny square. That's basically all this is. And we're going to start with a magic loop. Okay, so in order to make a magic loop, I'm going to have my tail in the front. Let me put my hook down. I'm going to have my tail in the front, and I'm going to take my working yarn and I'm going to wrap it around my 2 fingers, and I'm going to make an X. So I'm going to go across it. Okay, don't do it really tight. Okay, then I'm going to turn my fingers, and you're going to see 2 loops there. And I'm going to insert my hook underneath the first one, and I'm going to grab that second one, and I'm going to pull it, and I'm going to turn my fingers up, and I'm just going to let my fingers come out. That's my magic loop. There's more than one way to make a magic loop, okay? So you decide which way you are most comfortable with. I am just giving you a recipe here. You are going to tweak it however you feel comfortable. So this is my magic loop. In the description, I'm going to have a playlist of the stitches that you'll need to make this, okay? And all you're going to need, I believe, is a double, single, and a triple. So let's get started. So we have our magic loop, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. And I'm using a crochet hook that's a little bit smaller than the recommended size, okay? Then I'm going to go ahead. So this chain 3 here counts as our first double crochet. So we're going to go ahead and make 2 more double crochets in this center. Okay, so here is my third one for a total of 3 double crochets in a cluster, right? So here's our first double crochet, which is a chain, the chain that we made, and here are the other 2. Then we're going to chain 1. Okay, and we're going to do 3 more double crochets in the center. Now I'm only going to be chaining 1 in between my clusters because I want it to be tight. Okay, so I'm going to make a second cluster. So each cluster will consist of 3 double crochets. Okay, super simple, right? Okay, so here is my second cluster, and I'm going to chain 1. It might be difficult to find because traditionally you put in 2 chains in between, but I only want 1 because I want it to be tighter. Okay, but you can go ahead and use any granny square method you want. This is just what I found to work. So here is my first cluster, here is my second cluster, and here is my third cluster. Now, if you're struggling and you are concerned about finding those corners, which I don't blame you, you can go ahead and put in a stitch marker in every one of those chain 1 spaces. That might make it easier for you to find. It is an extra step and it does take some time, but if you're starting out and you're not, comfortable with your granny squares, you can absolutely do that, okay? So let me go ahead and make my chain 1 and my next cluster. This is an extra step that you do not have to do. But again, it might be helpful if you are starting out and you are concerned about messing up those corners, okay? So here is the chain 1 from before. And I will only be doing this on my first round so that I can show you, okay? And then I'm going to give this a tug and close this up, because now I have my 4 clusters. Here's one cluster. Here's my other cluster. Here's 3, and here's 4. I'm going to wait for the sirens to stop. And it sounds like they stopped. Okay. All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and chain 1. So then I'm going to slip stitch it to the top right here. So a slip stitch is just inserting your hook, yarn over and pulling it through the stitch, and yarn over and pulling it through the loop. And that's a simple slip stitch. And you see here, this is our last corner. I know lots of people, I've heard, because I've been teaching, and I've heard that lots of people are having trouble making their squares. And I suspect it has something to do with this last space right here. Okay, so now I have 4 clusters and 4 corners. So I have my 4 stitch markers, so I can easily see my stitches, right? I can easily see my corners. Again, this is an extra step that you do not have to do. So that's round 1, and this is going to be, I think, a 4 round one. Okay, so let's go ahead and make a, I'm gonna make a chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Here's my chain 3, okay? And then that's going to count as my first, double crochet, okay? Going around. Now I'm going to do an extra chain. Okay, so here is my double crochet and then the extra one. And I'm going to go right into this corner here. And I'm going to make 3 double crochets. I'm going to make my first cluster. Okay, here's 1. And I'm going to take that out. You can leave yours in or you can take it out. Here's 2. And here's 3. Okay, that's my first cluster, but we're doing a corner. So when you are in the corner, you're going to do 1 cluster. I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to do another cluster. Now there is granny square yarn that's available, and you can try making one of these with that, because it doesn't really matter if it's a little bit off, it'll still work. You can make these monochromatic, or you can make it in different shades of red or pink, or you can change every round however you want to do it. I'm just trying to make it simple, so I'm making mine monochromatic. Okay, so now I have my corner. So in the corner, you're going to have 1 cluster, chain 1, and another cluster of double crochets. Then remember, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to go straight to our next corner. Now you see, if you give this a little tug, it's going to be easier to see that space. Okay, so when you're starting out making your granny squares and you're not comfortable, go ahead and put those stitch markers in the corner. It will help you. As you make it larger, the corners will become more evident. You'll be able to see them better. So I'm going to take this out, and let's go ahead and make our next corner. And in our corners, we're going to make 3 double crochets, chain 1, and then 3 double crochets. And if you need to see this slow, the great thing about YouTube is that you can absolutely slow this down. Okay, so this is just simply a double crochet, and I'll show you how to do that next. So then you're going to chain 1. Remember, we are going to chain 1 between each cluster. Okay, but in our corners, we're putting 2 clusters. Okay, so now we did our chain 1, and we're back in our corner, and we're going to do a cluster. We're going to do 3 double crochets. Double crochet is yarn over, insert your hook, pull the yarn through. Now you have 3 loops, yarn over, pull it through 2, and yarn over and pull it through 2. Okay, so that's a double crochet. And again, I will go ahead and put a playlist of the stitches you will need to make this. Okay, and then I'm going to do another cluster. Okay, so we're going to do 3 double crochets, chain 1, and 3 double crochets. I know I'm repeating a lot, but I find many times that people often forget the very beginners. We need repetition when we're starting to learn things, okay? And it's okay. So then we're going to do a chain 1. So this chain 1 is going to cover this side space here. Now we're back in our first corner. So we're going to do our first cluster. Okay, which is 3 double crochets. These will work up pretty quickly. A chain 1. So do you remember that first chain that we did here? So that's going to count as our double crochet. So we already have 3, and then we have this one. So we only need 2 more. So we did 3 double crochets, a chain 1, and we're going to do 2 more. Because that first one that we did counts as a double crochet. And here's what we're going to do. We are going to find the third one. Here's 1, 2, and 3, and we are going to slip stitch into that. You see that? Now we have completed our second round. So we have our 4 corners and our 4 sides. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're in a space right here. We're in a space and we're going to go ahead and slip stitch into that space. So for a slip stitch, you're going to insert your hook, yarn over it, pull it through the stitch and the loop on your hook. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and that's going to count as your first double crochet, remember? So we have a space here on the side. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to put in 2 more double crochets, because remember we need a cluster of 3. So here is my second one there. Okay, so we have our chain 3, which counts as our first double crochet, and then we have 2 more. We're going to chain 1 after every cluster, and we are back in our corner. See, we're going to line it up. All the spaces on the corners should line up, you see? So we're back in our corner, and we're going to make a cluster of double crochets. Okay, and then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to make another cluster. So in every corner we're going to have a cluster, chain 1, and another cluster. Okay, now I'm going to keep going, but if you know how to make this, if you're confident, you can go ahead. I'm going to put the timestamps on the bottom, and you can go ahead and skip ahead to the next part. But if you want more help, just stick with me and we'll do this whole round together, okay? We're going to chain 1. Then we're back at the side again, okay? We're back at the side again. And so in here, we're going to make a cluster. We're going to chain 1 and we're going to make a cluster. So we're just going to do our 3 double crochets in this space right here. This is not a corner space. Okay, this is a side space. So all the side spaces only get 3 double crochets, okay? Then we're going to chain 1 and we're back at the corner. You can tell, you see how they all line up like that? And again, if you're not sure, you can absolutely put the stitch markers in your corners after you've made them, okay? So we have that chain 1. We're back in the corner and we're going to do another cluster, which is 3 double crochets. Double crochet is yarn over, insert the hook, yarn over, pull it through. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull it through 2, and yarn over, pull it through 2. That's a double crochet. Then we're going to chain 1 and we're going to do another cluster, okay, of double crochets. And remember, you can slow this video down if you want to do it along with me. You can actually speed it up too if you're a faster crocheter and you're not an absolute beginner and you go a little faster. Okay, that's cool too. Okay, now we're back at our side. Okay, and remember, if you get confused, put your stitch markers in the corner. We're going to chain one. Going to wait for the motorcycle. Okay, and we are back in our side space and we're going to do a cluster. So remember, every corner has 3 double crochets, a chain one, and 3 double crochets. Every side has 3 double crochets in the spaces, okay? And a chain one in between. Back at the corner, let's go ahead and make our cluster of 3 double crochets. Okay, 1, and then 3, and then we're going to go ahead and chain one. Okay, and then do another cluster of 3 double crochets. Okay, 2. This is going to be very quick. Okay, and then we're going to chain one, and we're back at our side, and we're going to do 3 double crochets. Okay, we are almost done with this round. All right, and chain one, back at the corner where we started. Okay, hold on, let me pull out some yarn here. And here's 2. So you can go ahead and try that granny square yarn. Let me know in the comments, what yarn did you choose? Did you choose to make it monochromatic, or did you choose the Red Heart granny square yarn, or did you, you can change color in every round if you are a more experienced crocheter. That would be cool. Different color reds maybe, or all the Christmas colors. You can try that. So we're done with our last corner. So we're back where we started. So we're going to chain one, and then we're going to slip stitch it. Remember, we did that chain 3 in the first row when we first started this round, and we're going to slip stitch it to the top of that chain, and we are done with our third round. Okay, all right, we are almost done. I think we're going to have one more round. Let me double check and count. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yep. Okay, so now's when we start to do things a little bit different. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I need to take a look. Hold on. Okay, so what we're going to do when we actually make when we fold it, we're going to fold it like this. So what we're going to want is we're going to want this part here to be a little bit longer. So this is where we are going to make our larger stitches. Okay, so what I'm going to do, see, I folded mine in half. So if you want to make this, let me pull my hook out. Okay, so if you want to make this larger, you can continue and make more rows of granny square. And then it's the last row where you're going to have to make the changes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my stitch marker in this space here. And then I'm going to put my stitch marker in that space there. This is going to tell me that this is where I'm going to be doing my larger stitches. Okay, so when I get to this point here, I'm going to have to do larger stitches, and I'll explain how to do that when we get there. Okay, so let me show you that again. You're going to fold it in half. Okay, so this is going to be the top right here, you see, and then this is going to be the side, and then this will be the bottom. And so to get this toe right here, I'm going to be using larger stitches and more of them. Okay, so these stitch markers are going to help remind me to start doing more stitches longer. So right here, these are my triple crochet stitches, okay? And I'll show you how to do that when we get there. All right, so now we've completed our third round. So if you are making this larger, you keep going until it's the size you want, and then follow the same procedure. Fold it in half and mark off where you want to make the toe. Okay, so once again, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and that will count as my first double crochet. And then I'm going to chain 1. That's going to count as my chain 1 that goes over the space here. So now I'm in a space, right? So remember, in our spaces, we're just going to do 3 double crochets. Let me pull out some yarn. Okay, so we're going to do 3 double crochets in here. Now you're going to hear the clanking of the stitch markers. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so we have our 3 double crochets, chain 1. We're back in the corner. You can tell, you see the center. So if you're using stitch markers for the corner, use a different colors here, okay? Like do all of these in red and then like do these 2 in green, okay? All right, so now we're back in the corner. Remember, in our corner, we're just going to make 1 cluster, which is 3 double crochets. Okay, and then we're going to do a chain 1 and then another cluster. I chose the chain 1s because I want this to be a little tighter. That's the only reason. There you go. Chain 1 and then make another cluster in here. So I'm going to go a little bit faster. Okay. But I do want you to see how we do the bottom. Chain 1. Next space is 3 double crochets. If you need to slow this down, you absolutely can. Okay, 3 double crochets, chain 1. Now we're back in our corner. See, I had to count because I only did a chain 1, so that makes it difficult to find. But remember, the corners all have 3 double crochets, a chain 1, and 3 double crochets. 2, okay, and then 3. And we're going to chain 1, and here's where we're going to start doing something different. Okay. So in this space here, okay, I'm going to take my stitch marker out. And in this space here, we are going to do 2 double crochets. 1, 2. We're going to do our 3 double crochets, right? And then we're going to do a triple crochet in that same space. So we're going to do 3 double crochets and we're going to do a triple. Here's how you do a triple. Yarn over once and yarn over twice. Okay? Insert your hook into the same one. Then you're going to yarn over, pull it through. Now you have 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. That is how you make a triple or a treble crochet. Okay, so now we have our cluster plus a triple crochet. Now let's move this over and let's look for this stitch. You see this V right here? You see this V right here? We're going to make our next stitch right in here. Okay, so we're going to make a triple in each of these 3 stitches going across. Okay, let me see. Okay, so triple crochet is yarn over twice. Okay, that's the trick. Yarn over twice before you start your stitch. Okay, and we're going to do that in every stitch across. Right, now let's take a look at how that looks. And then we're going to take this out, the stitch marker, and we're going to make one more triple or treble crochet in that space, okay? Okay, here we go. So now we have, remember we did our 3, and then we did an additional stitch, but it was a triple. Then we did 3 triples and an additional one. So we have 5 triple crochets, okay? We have 3 double and then 1 treble. Then we did a treble in each of the 3 stitches on the bottom. And then in our next space, we did a triple. Now in the same space, we're going to go ahead and make our next cluster of double crochets. 1, 2, and then 3. Okay, so you see how that looks? So I'm going to go ahead and chain 1 and go into our next corner. Our next corner is 3 double crochets. Chain 1 and 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and then 3. Okay, so let me pull this out and take a look at it. So remember, we're going to fold this in half. Just want to make sure that the toe looks good. Okay, so you see, that's how that's going to look. I'm happy with that. Okay, cool. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to complete the rest of your granny square. Remember, chain 1, 3 double crochets. Should I do it with you? Let's go ahead and do it with you. Again, I'm going to put the timestamp, so if you want to skip to the next part, you can. Okay, chain 1, 3 double crochets in this space. Okay. Now, when you make the first one of these, it might take you a little bit of time because you're not going to be sure that this is the right way. Chain 1, another cluster in the space there. But trust the process and continue to do it. And if you made a mistake, learn from it and start again or make another one. By the time you get to your second or third one, it will be a lot easier. Chain 1, find your space there. And this is the corner, remember? So we're going to do a cluster. And then we're going to do a chain 1. And then we're going to do a cluster. Now, yeah, I crochet quickly, but I've been crocheting for a long time. And the more you practice, the better you'll be. I find that when I haven't touched my hook in a while, it still takes me quite a bit of time to do some crochet. But if I'm crocheting every day, I kind of speed through it. There's my chain 1, and I'm at that first space there. So I'm going to do only 2 double crochets here. Why? Because that first chain that we did is going to count as a double crochet. So I'm going to find 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to slip stitch into that top of the third one to close it off. Okay, and now we have our granny square. Now look how it looks. Okay, it looks a little weird here, but that's okay. Don't worry about it. That's going to work out just fine. Okay. Whoops. All right. So at this point, you can go ahead and fasten that off. Let me double check. Yep. Let me pull this back a little bit here. Okay. At this point, you can go ahead and you can fasten that off. Okay. And you can weave in your ends if you want. Okay, but I have been showing this trick in a few of my videos, and let me go ahead and show you. So sometimes I don't have a needle. So what I'll do is I'll insert my hook in that first stitch from front to back. I'll grab the yarn and I'll pull it through. And then I'll insert my hook in the next stitch from back to front. and I'll pull the tail through, and I'll keep weaving. I'll keep doing this, okay, until I think I have woven in enough. But you absolutely can use a needle. That's fine. But I'm a little bit lazy. And for me, this is just a method that I've been using for quite a while, and I just wanted to show you. Doesn't matter what method you choose. Interesting. Okay. So we are going to get ready to seam the sides together. Okay. All right. So I'm going to fold this in half like this. And it's not that important to seam in your tails here because it's going to go inside the stocking. So we're going to leave this part open. We're not going to work on that part. And what we're going to do is, again, you can use your stitch markers. So I'm going to find my corners on each one, on the front and back, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a stitch marker right there, right in my corners. Okay. And then you can, just to make sure, you can put as many or as little stitch markers as you want. Okay. But I don't know what it is, but I have a tendency to make mine, I don't know, my stitches don't always line up. It could be my vision. I don't know what it is. So I'm finding that these stitch markers are very helpful. Okay. So this, I know I'm going to seam along this edge here. Okay. So for this one, I think I did a single crochet. But I think for the one here, I'm going to try a slip stitch. Okay. So that's the thing about crochet is that you can try different things. Okay. So I'm going to slip stitch all the way down, and I'm going to slip stitch in the back loops only. So let me show you where that is here. So you have your V for this panel and you have your V for that panel. So the back loops are going to be touching each other when you fold them in half. So this part of the V is the front panel, and this part of the V is the back panel. So the two parts of the V, the two legs that are touching, will be your back loops, and the front loops will be on the outside. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a slip stitch all the way across. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my red yarn again, and I am going to attach it to the back loop. Is that one? See, I'm counting. I'm counting. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to, yeah, I have trouble. So I want to make sure. And I'm going to put my hook in the back loops only. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have my yarn go over. Here's my tail. Here's my working yarn. And I'm going to pull it through. And then I'm going to make like a chain. That's it. And I'm going to lock that in place. Okay, and because I'm paranoid, I'm going to do that again in that same stitch. I'm going to insert my hook through those loops. I'm going to yarn over and pull it through the stitch, and I'm going to pull it through the loop on my hook. And I think I did it tight, so I have to use my thumb. Okay, now all of them should line up. Okay, so I'm going to go in the back loop here, the back loop there, yarn over, pull it through, and then yarn over and pull it through. Okay, and then you're going to do that all the way down. We can do this together if you like. Okay, so let me show you that again in the back loop here. So basically you're going to split the V. You're going to insert it in the middle of the V, and you're going to come up the back one. Okay, let me tell you that again. Okay, you're going to go from top to bottom in there, see? And then you're going to come up on the back one. However you can remember how to do this, okay? And you know what? This is, yeah, I kind of like the way that looks. Okay, but there's definitely a wrong side or a right side to this. So I've taken my stitch marker and I'm going to keep going. All right, so I'm going to do this all the way down. And I'll meet you at the end, right? Should we keep going together? I mean, this is working up so fast. I guess that we can stay together. But again, if you want to go ahead and skip to the next part, you absolutely can. Some of the stitches you see are a little bit tight, so I'm using my finger. That's okay. And especially if you're new, I find that this can be tricky. So if you want to stay and we'll do it together, that's okay. You can do that. If not, you can go ahead and skip to the next part on the bottom, um, which will probably, yeah, you can just go ahead and skip to the next part. I'm taking my stitch marker out. Let me bring this closer here. So I have a tendency to crochet on my lap. So sometimes I'll bring my work closer to me and I forget that you can't see me on the camera. So I apologize for that. How do you crochet? Do you like to crochet on the table? Do you like to crochet on your lap? I have been looking at videos and people are using breastfeeding pillows to put their work on because they also crochet on their lap. So I would like to get one of those and see how that works out because I'm not comfortable crocheting on the table. It's really difficult for me. So let me know how you crochet. All right. Do you crochet on your lap, on a table? Can you crochet walking? I don't think I can. But let me know. Okay. So we're coming along the end here. Okay. So make sure you get all the stitches all along the bottom there. So the end might look a little bit all confusing, but do your best. Um, do the best that you can. So I'm at the last stitch here, and I'm going to chain one, and I'm going to go ahead and do it again. There you go. Oh, I don't like the way that looked. That chain one made it look wonky. Let me not do that. So that's the thing about crochet. You try something, and if you don't like it, you pull it out. You don't have to live with it. Okay? So I think I'm just going to go in this loop here and make my last one. And then I'm going to work that off. I'm going to cut the thing, and we're going to go ahead and do the top next. Okay? Okay, so then that's my toe. And if you don't want to show the seam, you can turn this inside out, okay? That's fine. You can go ahead and grab the needle if you want to pull this in, but like I said before, I am lazy and I will just pull it through my stitches. The same way you would do it with a needle, I do it with a hook. You can use a little bit smaller hook if you want, but this is what I do. And then if you want, just make sure that you tuck that in there. There you go. That is my, there you go. See? Now we're going to go ahead and work on the top. All right. Pull that out. And I'm going to work the top in the round. And I'm going to try a different stitch. So in this one, I think I did a half double. I think I'm going to try a picot stitch. Okay, so let me grab some white yarn here. Okay. And I'm going to start from somewhere in the back. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a round of single crochet. So I'm just going to grab a stitch here. Okay. And then I'm going to chain one and I'm going to do a single crochet in that same stitch. And I'm going to do a single crochet in every stitch around. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. So we're just going to, now we're going to just work in the round. Okay. So just find where you want to put your stitch. And if you add an extra stitch, it's perfectly okay. I don't really like that. So let me go in here. And we're doing this in real time because, I want you to see that sometimes I don't like the way the stitch looks and I pull it out. So go ahead and single crochet all the way around. All right. And I'll meet you after you've done that. Okay. So single crochet all the way around. Okay. All right. I'll see you in a minute. All right. So we are coming to our last stitch there. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip stitch it to the top here. Okay. And then I'm going to chain one and I'm going to work in the front loop here. Okay. So the front loop is the one that's closest to you. Okay. So in the front loop, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a single crochet. So I'm going to insert my hook from the top to the bottom. I'm sorry, from the bottom to the top. I'm going to yarn over and pull it through. And then I'm going to make my single crochet. And then I'm going to chain three, 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to slip stitch into the base there. I'm going to do a slip stitch. Okay, so let's see how that looks. Good. Now in the second stitch, in the next stitch, I'm going to do the front loop. I'm going to do a single crochet. Okay. Then I'm going to chain three, 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to slip stitch. Let's try one more and see how that looks. Next stitch in the front loop, I'm going to do a single crochet. I'm going to chain 3. And then I'm going to slip stitch. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, I like that better. And we're going to do that all the way around. In the front loop, I'm going to do a single crochet, chain 3, and then slip stitch in the same stitch. Okay, let's do that all the way around, and I will meet you right back when we're just about done with this round. Okay, I'll see you in a minute. All right, let's go ahead and do the last few together. Insert your hook from the bottom to the top in between. Make a single crochet, chain 3, and then slip stitch into that same stitch. Okay, let's do the last ones together. Here we go. Chain 3. If you mess up, it's not a big deal. That's why these things are really good for beginners, because you really don't notice your mistakes, and it's a good way to learn and not feel the pressure, because in a garment, you kind of want to be perfect or close to it as you possibly can be, right? Okay, and so we're back at the beginning, and I'm just going to slip stitch it to that first one that we did, just to finish that round. Okay, and then there you go. Look at that. I rather like it. I think it's cute. I'm going to add one more row. Okay, this is just for me, and I'm going to go. So now we have the back loops that we did not work in. So what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and do a single. I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to find the back loop, and I'm going to single crochet. Okay, that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to single crochet in the back loops only. Okay, and what that's going to do is that's going to hold that little frilly part down so that it doesn't pop up. That's all that's going to do. So you can do single crochet or slip stitch, actually, whichever one you want. Okay, so let's go all the way around. Just single crochet in the back loops. You see it? It'll be unworked. Okay, You can do single crochet all the way around. We can do that together. That's okay. We're going to be done so fast. And you see what that did is I pushed this down. It stopped it from flopping up. So you can use a thinner yarn for this part if you want. A thinner yarn than what you used for the bottom. Or you can use a thicker yarn, right? That'll give it something different. They have yarn that has like glitter in it or tinsel in it, and you can use that for your stocking. Again, you can use the granny square yarn. Red Heart has some granny square yarns that you can use, and it'll work out fine because you're not really making a granny square to wear, so it's okay if it's a little bit off. So find that last one. Those last ones might be difficult. If you can't find them, it's no biggie. And we're right back where we started from. Let me make that last one here. If you can't find it, don't worry. And then I'm going to slip stitch it, and then I'm going to tie it off. So I did change it from the one that I made first. I made a few changes, but that's the great thing about this, is that you can change it. See, so for this one I just did a half double crochet all the way around in the front loops, and this one I just did a little bit of, you know, not quite a picot stitch, but I did that chain 3 thing. And as you can see, I automatically grabbed my hook. Okay, so if you want so this is, yeah, our mini stocking. So I have other videos, right? I have you know, wreaths. I have Christmas, this little Christmas bowl here. I have Christmas trees. This is also done with a granny square. Okay, so look at that. 2 different things that you can do with one granny square thing. So you can go ahead and check on one of these links here, and it will lead you to another Christmas ornament. Okay, I hope that this was helpful. I'll see you next time. Te veo. Bye.